Breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Breaking at noon, a man accused of killing a Home Depot employee pleads guilty. Next, the message from the victim's family.
Plus, police standoff. A man is in custody after a shootout with officers. Ahead, the moments leading up to that exchange.
And it's dry and beautiful now, but I'm tracking the next system that's likely to bring us rain for parts of the holiday weekend.
Back to that breaking news in Orange County. The man accused of killing a Hillsboro Home Depot employee has pleaded guilty. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. By doing so, Terry McMillan avoids a potential life sentence for the death of 82-year-old Gary Racer. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan is live at the courthouse in Hillsboro. And Chelsea, you spoke with the victim's family after sentencing.
Yeah, so after 8 hours of deliberation over the course of 3 days, a curveball was thrown around 10:30 this morning. That's because the prosecution here in Orange County and Terry McMillan's defense attorney came up with a plea agreement. And that plea agreement was for him to plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter as well as robbery for those pressure washers he stole during this offense, in October of 2022. And so that means that Terry McMillan will spend 8 to 10 years in prison after this plea agreement. Now, let's show you some of this surveillance video. This was kind of the crux of this entire murder case. That was on October 13th of 2022 when the state says McMillan pushed Gary Racer, 82 years old, to the ground as he tried to steal nearly $900 worth of pressure waters. Now, what this means is that Terry McMillan is avoiding a potential life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole. He also could have served decades in prison for second-degree murder. Now, the family spoke during the sentencing today. They stated they never wanted this case to go to trial. They never wanted Terry McMillan to spend life in prison. They just wanted him to be accountable for his actions. They stated that Gary never said a bad word about Terry McMillan even after this heinous action when he was recovering in the hospital, and would have forgiven him if he was still alive. Now, McMillan's attorney explained that Terry has 3 children, and during the time of this murder, money was tight, but they say that was no excuse for his actions. They hope that this sentence allows him to be incarcerated and rehabilitate and be out and be a good father within 8 to 10 years. Now, interestingly enough, this was an unusual move that I have not seen before. He's been incarcerated here in Orange County for just a little over 2 years. And in that time, he's been incarcerated with a $250,000 bond. That means after he were to spend his prison sentence, he would have to pay that back along with his attorney's fees. The judge said on the bench today he's waiving that fee in honor of, quote, Mr. Gary. So again, a plea of guilty here. Terry McMillan will spend 8 to 10 years in prison, of course, possibly less for the time served. The family did not have any comment after this plea agreement. We're hoping to hear from Jeff Neiman, the district attorney here in Orange County, and we'll bring that to you in our later newscasts. Live in Hillsboro, Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News.
Also breaking within the last hour, bipartisan support for a new state budget plan in the North Carolina House of Representatives. Last month, the state Senate passed a budget plan with aggressive tax cuts and small raises for state workers. The new House plan, finalized this morning, however, has bigger raises for teachers and other state workers. It also proposes different kinds of tax cuts that will help lower income families more. For our breakdown of what's in the new budget and what comes next for negotiations, go to WRAL.com.
A state trooper faces charges for domestic violence-related crimes. The State Bureau of Investigation charged Mark Melvin with misdemeanor crimes of domestic violence, assault inflicting serious injury, and assault on a female. In 2021, Melvin was placed under investigation after he called the Black Lives Matter movement a racist money laundering hate group in a Facebook post. Melvin has been part of the Highway Patrol for more than 10 years and commonly patrols the Person County area.
A man is in custody after a 9-hour standoff with deputies in Chatham County. Sky 5 flew over the scene at Bear Creek this morning, where police tape can be seen wrapped around the area. WRAL's Ken Smith joins us with more information about the investigation. Ken, this all started yesterday afternoon.
It did, Renee, and a 9-hour standoff, yeah, it's still an active scene in that Chatham County community. This is video into a newsroom with the help of Sky 5. You can see crime scene tapes around that property, as well as several law enforcement vehicles, marked and unmarked. Crime scene tape also surrounds an RV on that property. Here's what we know before the man at the center of this standoff was taken into custody. The Chatham County Sheriff's Office says the 9-hour ordeal started around 3:30 Wednesday afternoon on Lambert Chapel Road in Bear Creek and ended around midnight. Deputies were trying to serve an involuntary commitment order when they say the man inside that RV opened fire on deputies. Deputies returned fire. Investigators confirm hundreds of shots were fired over that 9-hour period that the standoff lasted. Well, that man in question was shot. No deputies were hurt. Of course, we're working to find out the man's name, his condition, and the status of this investigation. In terms of what happens next, look for updates on this story in our news starting at 4, WRAL News Plus, and of course online at WRAL.com.
Give you a live look right now. This is Carolina Beach. What a beautiful beach day it is right now. The blue skies, the blue water, and you can't see the wind. That's the only thing we're missing out there. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center right now. And really, that's the only drawback to today is that wind.
Exactly. We're going to see winds gusting 25 to 30 miles per hour this afternoon. Here's what's happening. We have a low pressure system to our north rotating around. It's rotated a little bit of cloud cover into the area, but generally, we're going to see lovely weather. It's going to feel comfortable in terms of temperatures for the next several days. But then, as we get into the weekend, Sunday and Monday in particular, there'll be a stalled front sitting across North Carolina. Different waves are going to ride along that front, and we'll start to have the chance for some rain Sunday afternoon and evening. It's likely to be fairly late, probably around dinner time or at least late in the afternoon. And then the wettest day is likely to be Monday, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be a washout. This is a look at what we're expecting right now. Definitely most of the rain Sunday night. And then Monday during the day, it's a 60% chance. So right now it looks like probably some scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms, but we're still waiting to get the high resolution models in, and we'll see those on Saturday for Monday. Those come in about 48 hours out. It definitely looks nice temperature-wise. Nothing hot out there tomorrow and Saturday, looking absolutely gorgeous. And really most of the day Sunday does too. We'll see increasing clouds, 75 degrees, but it'll be closer to sunset before we see a whole lot of rain. And then Monday, a better chance for afternoon and evening thunderstorms. So we'll take a closer look too at what happens after that as that front lingers. We'll talk more about the wind for today, and NOAA has put out its hurricane forecast for the season. I'll take a look at that too coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. All lanes of traffic are clear after a tractor trailer spilled thousands of pounds of marble on I-85. Ali Kalubar reports on the messy situation that blocked traffic for more than 4 hours.
Heavy machinery cleaned up marble on Falls Lake Bridge for hours. This all started around 1 a.m. when an 18-wheeler heading southbound on I-85 blew a tire and hit a guardrail. The cab caught on fire and it spilled its load on north and southbound lanes. The hefty cleanup made officers shut down the bridge. Traffic in both directions was stuck at a standstill. Highway Patrol says a suspected drunk driver also caused a 4-vehicle pileup on the northbound side. Luckily, there were only minor injuries. As for the 18-wheeler driver, he did not get hurt at all.
That was Ali Kalubar reporting.
Around midnight, 2 people were killed. 5 others were hurt in a crash in Cumberland County. The crash happened on Camden Road near Oakland Avenue. Troopers say 2 cars were involved. 2 women died in the crash. 4 other people were seriously hurt, including one who was flown to a hospital in Chapel Hill. Another person has minor injuries. That road reopened about 5 this morning. Troopers say they haven't determined the cause of the crash, but no charges are expected.
A motorcycle rider is seriously hurt after a crash. This is video from our WRAL breaking news tracker. It happened just before midnight in southern Wake County on NC 42 near Rock Service Station Road. And you can see the motorcycle severely damaged. Troopers say it hit a minivan hauling a trailer.
Violent crime is up in Durham, but the city is seeing fewer shootings overall. The Durham Police Department will present its latest crime numbers to City Council today. New data in the first quarter crime report shows homicides went from 6 in the first quarter of 2024 to 9 in the first quarter of this year. The department is solving a significant number of cases, more than doubling its clearance rate compared to last year. Youth crime offenses have also increased.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, we continue to follow that breaking news out of Washington, D.C., where 2 Israel Embassy staff members were killed there last night. Right now, law enforcement searching an address in Chicago that appears to be associated with the suspected shooter. Attorney General Pam Bondi today saying the suspect, quote, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to the parents of the victims. NBC's Alice Barr has more.
This morning, FBI agents investigating at a home in Chicago tied to the man suspected of shooting and killing 2 Israeli embassy staff members overnight while they were leaving an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum.
The suspect chanted, "Free, free Palestine," while in custody.
The suspect, Elias Rodriguez, a man in his early 30s, remains in custody as investigators work to determine if this was a hate crime or potentially an act of terrorism.
The suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside of the museum. He approached a group of 4 people, produced a handgun, and opened fire.
Police say he then went into the museum, was arrested, and pointed out where he left the gun. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. spoke about the victims, a young couple, Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lashinsky.
The young man purchased a ring this week with the intention of proposing to his girlfriend next week in Jerusalem. They were a beautiful couple.
The Israeli foreign minister said he'd spoken with Yaron's father.
I told him that his son was a warrior on our diplomatic front that felt just like a soldier in the battlefield.
President Trump posting these horrible D.C. killings based obviously on anti-Semitism must end now. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA. The U.S. Attorney General promising justice.
We'll be doing everything in our power to keep all citizens safe.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is at Fort Bragg as part of the post's All-American Week. Hegseth spoke during the 82nd Airborne Division's All-American Week review. He will also visit the Army Special Operations Units and the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and school to observe training. In a deadlock decision, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Oklahoma will not be able to launch the nation's first religious public charter school. The ruling claims the proposal to launch the Catholic virtual school violates both the federal Constitution and state law. The decision did not say how each justice voted. We do know it was a 4-4 split. Conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett recused herself from the case without explanation, but she did have multiple ties to the attorneys representing the virtual school. The court will likely be asked to weigh in on the issue in future cases.
The Hurricanes will skate head-to-head with the Florida Panthers once again tonight. Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final. Game 1, well, we know how that went. Not so well. Panthers came to Raleigh and skated right past them. 2-0 in the first period, 5-2 for the win. Puck drop tonight is at 8 o'clock at the Lenovo Center.
Next at noon, deal delivered. The big tax break bill passed by House Republicans after a sleepless night.
Also, pets and vets over the Memorial Day weekend. How to avoid holiday hazards.
Plus, Hurricane Helene help. Part of a busy day of discussions at the state legislature. NC Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie narrows it down for us at 12:30. A live look at Capitol Hill now, where today House Republicans passed President Trump's tax bill by a razor-thin margin. All Democrats and 2 Republicans voted against it. Griff Jenkins has more from Washington.
The bill is passed.
President Trump scored a major legislative victory on Thursday. The House passed his big, beautiful bill by a razor-thin margin. The final vote was 215 to 214, with 1 member voting present. It came after days of legislative arm twisting, some of it by Trump himself. And in the end, 2 Republicans voted no, Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Warren Davidson of Ohio. But House Speaker Mike Johnson says despite the close vote, the Republican Party remains united.
The principle and the philosophy is always the same. Everybody's conservative. We believe in limited government.
As expected, no Democrats supported the bill, which extended $4.5 trillion in tax breaks and slashes spending to make up for the shortfall.
You have consistently proven to be nothing more than a rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda.
Now the bill heads to the Senate, with House Republicans urging few changes, saying negotiations to bring the two chambers together are already underway.
We've been talking to the Senate for a long time, but it's their turn to take this bill and move forward.
But Democrats say they'll keep fighting to make sure key parts of the Trump agenda are stripped from the bill.
To be clear, this bill would hurt the most vulnerable Americans, and the most benefits would only reach the top wealthiest.
And that was Griff Jenkins reporting.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, multiple people are dead after a small jet crashed into a neighborhood in San Diego early this morning. This is a live look at the scene. You can see where that plane crashed right into that home. It is unclear how many people were on board the jet, but all of the fatalities appear to be from the plane. It crashed into a military housing community, setting nearly a dozen homes on fire, forcing families to evacuate. The San Diego police chief saying jet fuel was running down the streets. Everything was on fire all at once. Now, visibility, they said, was down to half a mile around the time of the crash. The pilot announced on the radio the plane was 3 miles away, and there were no signs of any problems. No emergency was declared. That plane taking off from Teterboro Airport in New Jersey, stopping in Wichita, Kansas before going to San Diego. The NTSB and the FAA are investigating.
A critical hearing today could determine a Columbia University graduate student's future in the United States. Mahmoud Khalil has been detained by immigration authorities since March. Today, his attorneys are expected to renew their motion to terminate the deportation proceedings. Khalil is a lawful permanent resident and has not been charged with a crime. The Trump administration has said he's a security threat due to alleged ties to terrorist organizations. 12:18 the time right now. We see some clouds behind us, but we see a lot of sunshine. We just can't see that wind blowing out there.
Yeah, and you know, June 1st marks the start of hurricane season, and earlier this week, the WRAL meteorologist team set out their hurricane forecast, and now we have NOAA's tropical forecast for what we could see this summer.
And it looks like NOAA is on the same page that we are, and probably most scientists, because the two things that we're looking at is the fact that we're going to see warmer than normal sea surface temperatures and then weak winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. We saw that last year, and of course we had an above normal season. NOAA is forecasting about 60% chance of an above normal season, so of course that's a decent chance. Let's talk numbers. The average number of tropical storms in a season is 14, and their forecast is 13 to 19, 6 to 10 hurricanes, and the average is 7. 3 major hurricanes is average, and they're forecasting 3 to 5. It's something that we'll be watching very closely. Of course, those warm ocean temperatures give a lot of fuel for those storms to develop, and then if the winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere are weak, there's nothing to help tear that storm apart, and it has the potential to grow stronger. There's no tropical development right now. The National Hurricane Center started the tropical outlooks on the 15th of May. They do that about 2 weeks before the actual season starts, but there's been nothing developing. It's interesting that we often see something developing in May. Hopefully we won't. Things are looking nice and quiet in the tropics right now. As Jeff said, it is breezy out there. Take a look at the whirligigs in Wilson. They are spinning around. It's beautiful with lots of sunshine, 75 degrees, and the dew point way down at 49. So it feels really nice out there right now, except for the wind. We're seeing winds gusting in the triangle to 24 miles per hour. The gusts are in the white box on the right, and the steady winds are on the left. These winds are coming out of the west-northwest. 23 in Goldsboro is the gusting to 26 in Fayetteville. And we may see some stronger gusts as we get through the afternoon. Could be gusting maybe 28 to 30 miles per hour. But it does taper off pretty quickly. Once we hit sunset, those winds will die down really fast. Taking a look at temperatures right now, it's a wide range. 70 in Roxborough, 81 in Fayetteville, and 80 degrees in Clinton. Around the triangle, temperatures are mostly in the mid-70s. It's 75 in Holly Springs, Springs, 73 in Cary, 73 in Garner, and 74 up in Wake Forest. If you're heading out and about this afternoon, it's going to be warm. Temperatures in the low 80s in the Triangle, 86 in Fayetteville. But with really low humidity, it's still going to be comfortable to be outside. I know a lot of folks, lucky folks who have tickets to the Canes game tonight, it'll be perfect for tailgating. If you're heading out right after work at 6 o'clock, 78 degrees, and then in the 70s for much of the remainder of the evening. We have a low to our north that is funneling in cooler, drier air. But what will happen next is we'll see a front down south start to lift northward and stall. And then along that front, as we get into Sunday and Monday, we're going to see more moisture starting to push in. The green shaded area, it's going to bump up the humidity and give us enough moisture to have some showers and thunderstorms. But look at this. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all very comfortable in terms of the dew point, the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. And temperatures look great too. 78 Saturday, 75 Sunday. Then Sunday night and Monday, we'll have a better chance for scattered thunderstorms. We talked about that at the beginning of the newscast, but we'll take another look and talk about how much rain we could see, and then, of course, how long it lasts into next week.
Elizabeth, thanks. At-home care to pregnant mothers. One local healthcare system is working on plans to offer portable ultrasound devices. Today on WRAL News at 4, how it would work and when we could see it become accessible.
More than 70 calls to 911, all about one rural farm party. Tonight at 6, WRAL investigates the drain on county resources and the effort to stop the dangerous parties. From party food to fireworks and heat, Memorial Day weekend is one of the busiest times for emergency vet visits for your animals. 5 on your sides, Keely Arthur shares the top 5 Memorial Day weekend hazards for pets and how to avoid them.
Summer is considered the peak seasons for pet emergencies. And when you think about it, it's easy to understand why. From parties to heat to loud fireworks, here are the dangers you need to be aware of. Heat stroke and dehydration, burnt pads from hot pavement, fireworks and other loud noises, plus toxic food and drinks, and stress from unknown environments.
We want to make sure that we're keeping a close eye on them, that they are staying hydrated, that they're able to get cool somewhere. So do they have shade? Are you keeping them off of that hot pavement? Do they have water readily available? Are we keeping them away from substances or foods that they shouldn't eat? Because even the common, tray of, veggies and fruits may have grapes or something like that that pets can't eat.
And you also want to be aware of harmful products, things like citronella candles, sunscreen, insect repellents, even pool chemicals. If they're ingested or absorbed through the skin, that can be dangerous, and you don't want your pet ending up here. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
Memorial Day weekend signals the start of summer for many people. It also means an increase in dangerous and deadly driving. AAA is projecting a record-setting number of people on the roads between today and Monday, including more than 1.3 million people in North Carolina. To stay safe while driving, travel experts recommend taking a break every 2 hours you're behind the wheel and keeping distractions like your phone out of sight while driving.
State House lawmakers today voted on another relief bill for survivors of Helene in western North Carolina. How it's expected to rebuild farms and small businesses there.
You snooze, you lose. Hitting that snooze button could have consequences on your health. Why researchers say it's a bad idea to get that extra 5 minutes of sleep. First, here's a look at the winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your #1 source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
New at noon, within the last hour, State House lawmakers unanimously approved another relief bill for survivors of Hurricane Helene.
The $450 million proposal was unveiled yesterday, and it's just the latest round of aid following the massive storm that hit western North Carolina in September. WRAL Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie is live at the legislative building right now where votes just happened minutes ago. Laura.
That's right. And it was a unanimous vote, of course, 116-0
If this bill becomes law, it would bring the total state aid to that region to about $2 billion. But the $450 million is far short of what Governor Josh Stein asked for earlier this week. It's also very much less than what the Senate had in its budget bill last month. So this bill is likely to spend some time in negotiations. The $450 million in the House bill includes money to remove debris, to rebuild farms, to pay for road and bridge repair, and to help small businesses. For the first time, lawmakers have included $60 million in grants, not loans, to businesses that suffered losses because of Helene. State lawmakers said many affected businesses were not taking the loans the state was offering because they don't want to take on debt they might not be able to repay. Business owners will have to supply documentation to prove their losses using receipts from before the storm and after. Representative Eric Ager said the loss of last fall's tourist season was a huge blow to many of them.
Those business grants tailored to help make up that revenue are going to have a huge impact and are going to keep businesses rolling and really help our economy to not fall off a cliff, what it certainly is always teetering on.
But Western North Carolina lawmakers in both parties also pushed for more money, especially for local governments. They say local governments spent a lot of their operating budgets on storm response and recovery and are now facing budget shortfalls and possible layoffs and tax increases. Now, House lawmakers want to keep Helene relief separate from the budget because they say it should not be political. But Senate leaders want to keep it as part of the spending package, and that could slow down the process of getting this money out onto the ground in Western North Carolina, where it is eagerly waited for. Laura Leslie, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, no more pennies. The U.S. Mint announcing today they have made their final order of the penny blanks. And once those run out, they're not going to make the coin anymore. They're going to stop producing. So once they run out, they're gone. In February, President Trump announcing he had ordered his administration to cease production of the 1 cent coin. Advocates for ditching the penny cite its high production cost. It costs about 4 cents per penny to make. Fans of the penny, though, cite its usefulness and charity drives. And the irony of this all, tomorrow is National Lucky Penny Day.
Figure. Michelle, thank you. In Durham County, commissioners are making a plan on how to spend your tax dollars. Today, they have a work session on the budget. The board is looking to identify priority spending areas for 2025 and 2026. You can share your feedback with the board online now. The Carolina Hurricanes will take to the ice at the Lenovo Center tonight for Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains the team has a lot of pressure going into tonight.
We are in the eye of the hurricane. We're expecting another packed house here at the Lenovo Center tonight. Canes fans are hoping for a comeback. The Canes will go head-to-head against the Florida Panthers tonight. Let's take you to video from Game 1. The Panthers came to Raleigh and got the jump from the start. They went up 2-0 in the first period and went on to a 5-2 win. The Canes have not won an Eastern Conference final game since 2009. They're hoping to break that losing streak tonight. We spoke with Canes fans in downtown Raleigh about how they're feeling heading into Game 2. Fingers crossed for a win, but Debbie Akers says Caniacs are rooting for them regardless.
I am a part of a center at NC State University, and my whole staff talk about the Canes. They go to the games. We love the Canes, and I think it's just been a real opportunity for the community to join together and have a great fun.
Check out tonight's fan giveaway. These towels are a little bit different than the towels that fans received during Game 1, so everyone will be able to take one of these home and cheer on the Canes throughout the game. Puck drop is tonight at 8 here at the Lenovo Center. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
After tonight's game and after every Canes game during the Stanley Cup playoffs, get exclusive insights and expert analysis right here on WRAL. Canes exclusive postgame live airs at 11:25 tonight.
Southwest Airlines is rolling out a new rule starting next Wednesday. Passengers will be required to keep their portable battery chargers in plain sight. Casey Stiegel explains what prompted this new policy.
Nearly all of the rechargeable products we use these days are powered by a lithium-ion battery. Consumer safety video shows just how quickly one of these batteries can catch fire and spread.
They can store a lot of energy in a small footprint, but when that energy is released in an uncontrolled way, that's very dangerous.
Brian O'Connor with the National Fire Protection Association says they also emit deadly gases.
Carbon monoxide is one of the main components that come off of lithium-ion battery fires. You can get carbon monoxide poisoning. There are a bunch of other toxic chemicals in there you do not want to breathe in.
A passenger on board a Spirit Airlines plane back in March shot this cell phone video of flight crews trying to extinguish a battery that caught fire in an overhead bin. Starting next week, Southwest Airlines says these types of portable chargers must be visible while in use, no longer allowed to be stored in a bag or bin. The Dallas-based carrier tells Fox 4 in a statement, quote, "Nothing is more important to Southwest than the safety of its customers and employees."
I think it sounds like a good idea that you keep those batteries out so that people can see them instead of them being hidden and then there possibly being a fire on the plane. That'd be bad news.
Most passengers at Dallas Love Field say they're all about policies to improve safety. Others say this doesn't go far enough.
It should take a lot of consideration and maybe some parameters to put around in place, maybe beyond just visibility, that would ensure safety for everyone.
According to the FAA, there have been 19 incidents since April involving lithium-ion batteries on planes. Experts say it's a relatively low number considering how many flights operate every single day. Still, the industry doesn't want to take any chances.
That's Casey Stigl reporting, and Southwest says it will alert its customers before they fly to comply with the new rules in the name of safety.
Dangerous farm parties. WRAL investigates, digs into why out-of-control rural parties are putting the public at risk.
And risky baby swings, the safety violation that's prompted a recall of these infant swings sold on Amazon. The Consumer Product Safety Commission is warning caregivers to immediately stop using certain infant swings that could cause serious injury or death. Quiric infant swings are marketed for infant sleep but have an incline angle greater than 10 degrees, and that violates the Safe Sleep for Babies Act and the federal infant sleep products rule. The items were sold online at Amazon from October 2023 through November 2024.
The FDA will now require COVID-19 vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna to come with new warning labels. The shots already come with a warning about heart inflammation. But Moderna's warning indicates it's a risk for 18 to 24-year-old males, while Pfizer indicates 12 to 17-year-old boys. Moving forward, both shots will increase that range for males 16 to 25 years old. Hitting the snooze button could be bad for your sleep. Researchers warn snoozing disrupts critical sleep phases. They say the hours just before waking are rich in REM sleep, and hitting the snooze button typically only offers you light sleep in between alarms. However, if you often opt for a few extra minutes in bed, you are not alone. A study led by researchers at Mass General Brigham found that over half sleep sessions end with hitting that snooze button. I'm conditioned to not hit the snooze button because I'm terrified of oversleeping for this early morning show.
Well, yeah, it's
I'm not going to do it.
It's deadly for us. There's no way you can recover from that. So you got to get out. It's better for you anyway. That sleep.
And 2 alarms too. That's the other secret.
That's the key. In a different room. Dangerous parties. Police received more than 70 911 calls about one rural farm party in Orange County. And up next, WRAL investigates. Sarah Kruger explains what she's uncovered about these types of parties.
And rushing on stage, a dad slides past security to get his diploma. The viral moment ahead. New 911 calls are revealing the dangerous situation at a party earlier this month in Orange County. WRAL has done numerous stories on this growing issue of farm parties, including a 2,000-person party that resulted in charges against the owner. WRAL investigates. Sarah Kruger tells us about her investigation coming up tonight.
This is Smokehouse Valley Farm here behind me where that party was. There is barely any cell phone signal out here at all. I tried to make a phone call and I can't. That's one thing that was clear from the 911 call log. It was really hard to get a hold of help.
Somebody's having a panic attack and they're having an asthma attack as well. Your phone is breaking up.
Those 911 calls that WRAL Investigates got through a public records request show the really dangerous situation out here earlier this month. Roughly 70 calls for help, ranging from asthma attacks to frustrated neighbors who couldn't sleep to a pregnant woman having contractions who couldn't get out of her driveway because of all of the cars.
This is absolutely wild. I've never seen a party like this in my whole life.
Tonight at 6 in our WRAL investigation, the drain on county resources these parties are causing. And we're talking to those involved in a community effort to try to stop the parties like this one out here. Sarah Kruger, WRAL News in Orange County.
The investigation into a potential cancer cluster at NC State's Poe Hall will start again. More than 225 people have reported to WRAL that they developed cancer after spending time in the building. The federal probe is now resuming after last month. The university said it was due to federal budget cuts. Families and students say they are happy the investigation is moving forward. NC State has not provided a timeline on how long the investigation will take. I wonder when some of this nice weather is going to disappear on our holiday weekend coming up. We should get a good bit of it into it.
Yeah, at least for a good part of it, we'll enjoy it. Although today, super breezy. Elizabeth, I was looking at some of the live cameras and the trees and flags just whipping about.
They are looking at gusts this afternoon, 25 to 30 miles per hour out of the northwest. So it's a nice cool breeze. It's dry air that's moving into our area. We take a look at Fayetteville. The cameras moving around here. You can see all the trees blowing around on Fayetteville Street. Chapel Hill, there's courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. And of course, here's a look at Apex, and it looks breezy there as well. So wind will be our biggest issue for the rest of the afternoon. We do have a little bit of cloud cover that's swinging through, so it may be feeling mostly cloudy for you from the Triangle area northward. We have a low pressure system north of us rotating counterclockwise, and that's just pushing in a little bit of moisture today. Not enough to cause any precipitation, but just a few clouds. We look ahead to the holiday weekend, and the biggest feature will be a stalled front. It's going to sit right over North Carolina. We'll see different systems riding along that front. And right now, it looks like the wettest day would be Monday. But let's go through time. This is Friday at 8 p.m. And you can see it's nice and dry. Our flow coming just out of the west-northwest, keeping things feeling great. Temperature will feel wonderful. Humidity stays low. A real treat for almost the end of May. This is Saturday at 5 o'clock. Same story. Nothing showing up here. But then as we get into Sunday, by 5 o'clock, you can see a little bit of scattered rain moving into the area. So it will start gradual and then continue overnight. And then the big question will be, what is the timing going to be like for Monday? Some of the models are showing it a little bit earlier on Monday, but of course, if we end up with some afternoon heating, it may continue into the afternoon. So after that, here's Monday, 8 p.m. More of those waves roll in for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So it looks like we'll have Friday, Saturday, and pretty much all of Sunday dry, but Sunday night looks wet, and then Monday at least on and off. We get our high resolution models, which really help us to time out these storms more accurately. Coming in Saturday morning, they go out 48 hours. So by Saturday morning, we'll know a whole lot more about what that timeline looks like for Monday. Checking our forecast rainfall for the next 5 days, likely to be something around 1/4 of an inch. That's going to be an average. We'll have some places where storms develop, where some of that rain will be heavier, or that storms may miss, that it's lighter. We've had a good bit of rain lately, and so we're in good shape now. This is exactly where we want to be heading into the summer when it gets hotter and drier. We still have a pocket of abnormally dry conditions to our west, and then off to the south and east, abnormally dry, and along the coast, some moderate drought in a few places, but looking much, much better than it did several weeks ago. Look at these temperatures. I mean, this is a pretty big treat for us for the next several days. 76 tomorrow, 78 Saturday, 75 Sunday. It's cooler Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday also, mainly because of that potential for rain. Looking at just 71 on Tuesday and back to 75 on Wednesday. So again, some fairly unusual weather for the holiday weekend. Our normal high this time of year is around 80 degrees like we'll see today. At least we will have some dry time to enjoy.
Thanks, Elizabeth. A viral moment. A father sprints past security and onto a graduation stage. Next, why staff was trying to stop the man.
And we have a look right now at your winning Powerball numbers: 9, 29, 31, 34, 43. The Powerball is 2. The multiplier is 2. We wrap things up with a look at a few of the headlines we're following for you today.
The man accused of killing a Hillsborough Home Depot employee pleaded guilty today. By doing this, Terry McMillan avoids a potential life sentence for the death of 82-year-old Gary Razor. He was sentenced to 8 to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter in the middle of jury deliberations. McMillan was caught on surveillance video pushing Razor to the ground in the Garden Center in 2022. Razor died a month later.
A state trooper faces charges for domestic violence-related crimes. The State Bureau of Investigation charged Mark Melvin with domestic violence,